Good morning and welcome to the first session of several sessions, excuse me, across 3 days and wrapping up Thursday morning for New York Home Fashions Week, the virtual New York Textiles Week. Hello, Warren. I'm joined by my frequent partner in video crime and navel gazing and prognosticating, Warren Shoulberg, who is our contributing editor and a contributing editor to many, many fine publications. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine. Good morning. It's good to have the old gang back together again. And you and I have reported from various places around the world, but I don't think we've ever done these from our kitchen tables before. So
no, we have not. No, we have not. And a quick thank you to the IHA and the Inspired Home Show for sponsoring this event. Warren, let's jump into it. You wrote our cover story for Market Week, which is about the profound change that's taken place in a very, very, very short period of time. How do you describe it?
Well, I think the best description came from Jim Cramer on CNBC, and he said that this is the most profound market share shift in retail history. And I think what we saw in the spring when we had a real caste system created where there were haves and have-nots. So the stores that were allowed to stay open, the essential retailers, as they were called. So Walmart and Target and Costco and Sam's and
the dollar stores got in, yeah.
Yep. They all stayed open, and while they were selling toilet paper and hand sanitizer and Campbell's soup, they also were selling a lot of sheets and towels. And I think they really grabbed market share from the have-nots, the non-essential retailers. And boy, if I were a retailer and somebody called me non-essential, I would take that personally.
Well, yeah, and the e-commerce factor, right? The e-commerce factor, how when we got the quarterly reports, the retailers were saying, several of them, we grew our business to what we thought it would be in 3 years or another 5 years. I mean, just incredible.
Yep. The e-com guys, when you look at some of the public companies, their numbers, I think Wayfair, probably the best example. Wayfair said their business was up 85% in that spring quarter, and then they said that they acquired a year's worth of new customers in 3 months. So to me, that was a real telling number. And the question now remains, will these guys hang on to this market share? So those losers who included Macy's and Kohl's and Bed Bath & Beyond, Penny's, those kind of guys who were closed and really didn't reopen until May and June.
Well, Bed Bath though was kind of quasi, right?
Yeah,
because of Harmon and some of their food things, they were half and half. They were a half and half.
Yeah. Yep. And you're right.
But the off-pricers were pretty much sidelined, and full-line department stores were sidelined. You're right.
The off-price guys, who really don't have any e-commerce, and somebody like Burlington that announced in February, about an hour and a half before COVID, that they were shutting down their e-commerce. You got to think that those guys are going to rethink their approach to e-com. They keep saying there's not a way to make it work. You can't do the discovery process, but I don't know about you, but I've discovered a whole lot of things on the internet that make it so. So you really had this caste system, and I think that's going to change the dynamics of the industry for quite some time. I think our cover story said something like those essential retailers picked up $500 million of business in 3 months, which is crazy, for an industry this size. So,
and the implications for suppliers as well. Suppliers who weren't up on their game for fulfilling e-commerce had a very, very, very different experience than those who were. And it was tough for everybody, right? Because it was already tough because China had already shut down early on, and they were just coming back. And then we started going out. And then when we started going out in the US, retailers were canceling orders and suppliers were canceling orders, and all the way down the supply chain, things just got massively disrupted, which is why we are now seeing in many prominent retailers, including those who never closed their doors, a lot of out of stocks, right?
Yep. It's weird. Again, it went from there's too much merchandise, there's not enough merchandise, back to too much, and now we're starting to see that there's too little again, and it's again crazy situations that it's really hard to anticipate what's going to happen, and you know, just as a retailer needs to pick their vendors, a vendor needs to pick their retail customers and decide who they're going to sell to. If you pick the wrong guys, you're having a tough time right now.
Yeah, you are. Well, I think the other through line that many people discussed was the stimulus checks and the impact of that on business. I remember speaking to a CEO of a home textiles company who said, you know, generally I don't support things like mandatory minimum wages, and I think the government should step back. But man, the second those stimulus checks hit, you could see the difference in business, especially the discretionary business. And you've had a number of retailers reference that as well in their quarterly reports.
Yep. I think I saw some report that about 40% of those stimulus checks went to purchasing. Now, and again, that could have been Kraft mac and cheese and toilet paper, but I think some of it went to the home business. And obviously, all of us who have been stuck at home and are looking around and going, God, what a dump I live in. I think the home business has had some great opportunity to pick up business. You know, certainly. None of us are wearing formal clothes below the screen level. So,
nope.
And
or before below shoulder level, really.
Yeah, I think it depends on where your camera is located.
But, yes, that's true. That's true.
But you know, without all that money going to restaurants and travel and the experiences and whatever they were.
Yes.
That money's got to go somewhere.
But that's part of the, and you know, for how long has the industry been, not complaining isn't the right word, but, you know, ruining that the consumer for the past, 4 years really has been spending their money on those experiences, on dining and travel and whatnot, rather than things. And now it's things, and happily those things involve a lot of home things, and value is still a really big proposition, right?
Yep. It definitely is, but I think ruining is a good word. There was a lot of ruining going on.
Ruining.
Yes. And so this is really a sweet spot for the home business. And again, the question is how long it goes on. But you know, I think RH just reported its numbers a couple of days ago, and they had a great quarter. And they asked the CEO Gary Friedman what was going to happen going out. He said, you know, you really can't predict, but he sees some runway for the better part of a year that people are going to be focused on their home. And beyond, I think beyond that is ridiculous to make predictions, but certainly short term, you've got some real opportunities there.
Yeah, you really do. And I keep the prognostication I keep hearing is like roughly 18 months. That's kind of what people are planning on, that, you know, even think about back to school. Back to school is quote unquote slow, got off to a quote unquote slow start because, I mean, really up until somebody's school opened or didn't open, nobody was sure how kids or college students would be going to class. A lot of them are doing it in their bedrooms or their family
Yep.
kitchen.
Yep.
So there has been some speculation that we might have a second back to school, back to college season in the winter if more things are able to open up. So once again, we're coming back to that supply chain question.
Yeah.
And will there be enough goods in the right place at the right time in the right parts of the country, right? Because every geography is going through something different.
Yep. And again, where you get your merchandise from plays a big part of it. From what we've been hearing, China is back up to full speed, and if anything, maybe a little oversold on its capacity.
But you still have the tariffs issue.
You still have the tariffs,
which
right?
was the bane of 2019, right? Tariffs. What are we going to do about tariffs?
Yep. And when China first went down, I think a lot of people looked at India as a good alternative, and India, I think, picked up some serious business. And now it looks like a second wave is hitting India, and I think there's going to be some capacity issues there as well. So,
which kind of,
it's really hard to figure out.
This kind of brings us back to what we were talking about in 2019, right? With the tariffs, it was like, all right, finally. The industry has talked about the need to diversify really out of three big buckets. And maybe tariffs is the thing that starts to move people, which happened maybe a little bit, but not a lot.
Yep.
And here we are again, right?
Yep. Obviously, as our audience knows far better than we do, you can't just move a $2 million production order from one country to another. Each factory, each country has specializations, and a program that China does really well, India may not be able to do it, and vice versa. So This is real tough. I think what the cloud hanging over our conversation is that still not nobody's really looking at a domestic manufacturing solution.
A little around the edges, right?
Right, some cut and sew and maybe some assembly, but you're not seeing a wave of people opening up factories here. So if that was one of the goals of the tariffs, that certainly hasn't happened.
Right.
So the question is, are some of the second tier players, whether that's in Asia, whether that's Vietnam and Laos or Indonesia, Europe, whether it's Turkey, Portugal, do they start to pick up market share? Mm-hmm. And again, a lot depends on the product, I guess, right?
It does depend on the product and the price point. I mean, we have a session tomorrow from the industry in Portugal.
Okay.
And they're very focused on what their sweet spot is, and they see a lot of opportunity. Same thing for Pakistan. I think the struggle for Pakistan is traditionally the industry has thought of Pakistan as opening price point, and the struggle for the industry is we can do so much more. And if you've walked around Home Textiles, you see some gorgeous printing out of Pakistan, for example.
Absolutely. Yep.
So maybe this is a good opportunity for Pakistan to say, hey guys, we're rolling through with a little less trouble than some of these other places. You need to rethink us, right?
Yep.
And then you got some production out of Brazil, particularly in the towels. But yeah, people need to be more thoughtful and more selective. We have a question. Let's see.
Okay.
Has there been any analysis on the consumer that shifted from experience to travel to home products? Is there a specific demographic that this is the largest shift? The last data I saw, which was from Cotton Incorporated, which has been doing rolling surveys, and in fact, we'll be doing a session during Market Week. So you check the schedule. I think that is, are they Tuesday or Wednesday, but they're doing a session.
Okay.
Is that it's pretty even across the age groups and across the demographic groups, because most people are stuck and at home and looking around and reevaluating. I don't know a different perspective, Warren.
I think it's fascinating if you look at the housing market. Unlike the Great Recession, the housing market is doing rather well right now. Prices are up, with the exception of urban areas, but in the suburbs and the exurbs, the housing market is doing really well, and a lot of that's being driven by millennials. All of those stories about millennials were never going to move out of Williamsburg and urban areas, and they were never going to buy. They were always going to rent. Those have all turned out to be not sustainable, and so they're buying houses in the suburbs. The oldest millennials are getting to be 30 right now, and this is prime household formation years. And so to answer that question, I think it's that millennial generation that is shifting those dollars from restaurants and travel and experience to household products, including the kinds of things that this industry sells. So you're really seeing some big shifts there. I do think the millennial migration to the suburbs would have been happening anyway, as they get married and kids. They need the schools and they need the soccer fields and the dance practices that the suburbs have. So that was going to happen anyway. But again, like virtually everything else with this pandemic, whatever was going to happen is happening faster and sooner than would have happened without it. So, yeah. So
and that's what we're seeing on the product side too, right? Two big trends of the last 2 years, 3 years: health and wellness, now on steroids.
Okay.
Right? Now on steroids, especially with the antimicrobial, and we're starting to see some antiviral, and sustainability, because the pandemic has, well, actually, sustainable is cleaner. That's kind of the way the consumer sees it, right?
Okay.
But the pandemic has also showed us what the world looks like when we all just step back for a little bit. You can see dolphins swimming in the canals in Venice, and you can see blue skies in major cities around the world. And this is bringing it. It's you talk to suppliers and retailers, they'll say, oh, this hasn't put it on the back burner. This has made it even more important. A lot of new products this week like that. And, tying back into what you talked about, people at home, homemaking, building homes, cozy home is a huge thing. Snuggling, comfort, family time. I think, you look at something like table linens and kitchen textiles have always kind of been a little niche. This is their moment in the sun. Everybody's cooking again.
Yep.
And eating at home again. And we're going to have holidays coming in some form or fashion. So I think it bodes well for those categories as well.
I talked to one retailer who said that his fleece blanket and throw business is insane. That again, if you think about comfort foods and you transfer it to home products, anything that qualifies as that is really doing well. Do you think that this health and wellness thing is the industry going to be able to capitalize on that? Are they going to be able to get that message across to consumers?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it comes down to packaging, but in the traditional sense of when we used to walk into a store and look at is something being merchandised or not being merchandised, and does the package have to tell a story? But so much of it is e-commerce, and even if the ultimate sale is going to take place in the store, and when you talk to, and I know you've talked to a lot of suppliers as well, The ones who are really on their games have developed a lot of collateral material,
Yep.
videos and whatnot that can go up onto websites. I mean, there's some companies that have really done some great stuff and are loaded for bear and ready to go and ready to communicate, including, you know, in some cases, launching their own sites to market these things in social media. It will be interesting to see how it plays out. There was already that interest in kind of healthy, cleaner textiles. So, you know, I don't think that goes away. I mean, is anybody going to want to go back to dirty stuff? Are you not going to think about how clean your hands are, or when the last time you washed them, or when the last time, how long that sponge? I mean, are we never not going to think about that again after this?
Yep, that's a great question. I'm washing my hands like crazy. That's for sure. When you were doing pre-market and kind of looking at products, some people have said that in terms of design, things are going to be a little safer, a little bit more traditional, not so wild and crazy. That people are going to want, again, some comforting products. Are you seeing any evidence of that?
Kind of yes and no. So you've got the cozy, spa-like or calming or simple, but at the same time, because of a bigger shopping shift to e-commerce, which while many people think it will pull back a bit, nobody thinks it's going to pull back all the way to where it was before. You really need things that pop. You need designs that pop. You need patterns that pop, especially on the fashion side of things, whether it's fashion towels, fashion bedding. You know, we didn't mention window. Obviously, blackout and room darkening windows have been a growing trend for several years now, and it's not new to add fashion, but it's getting even more fashionable, you know, whether it's color or pattern. So it's going both ways, to tell you the truth. It really is.
And who knew the curtain business would end up being fashion leaders? But I'm hearing that from a few different companies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So there is going to be a lot to see this week.
Yep. Are you getting any sense? I'm hearing, you know, again, probably going to be difficult to order this week for Christmas, but I keep hearing that with Amazon Prime Day kind of looking like it's going to be the first week of October, that Christmas is going to start even earlier than it has. Obviously, Black Friday weekend may not be as important, and that a lot of the shopping is going to be front loaded. So are you getting a sense of that too?
Yeah, especially from the retailers, right? They're all talking about they're getting cracking in a few weeks, and I'm probably maybe because their eyes are on Amazon.
Yeah.
But your big ones, you know, are all saying we're getting started in October and we're not waiting for our lowest prices of the season. But so the big question is, though, how do they assure consumers about that, right? Because consumers have been trained that you are going to get the very best price like the last week.
Yep.
And retailers have to convince them that no, we truly are giving you the best price right now. So that's going to be an interesting challenge, I think.
Well, and I read that there's also shoppers are getting a little spooked with the reports that FedEx and UPS are not going to be able to handle the last minute rush, and that if they want their goods, they better order earlier and earlier. So I think we got a perfect storm that it looks like Christmas is going to be early. You know, exactly how robust Christmas will be in general, I think is anybody's guess.
Anybody's guess. I mean, it doesn't look like there's going to be another stimulus anytime soon. So there's that question.
Yep.
I mean, if if they nailed one down, then we would know Christmas was going to be boffo. But yeah, that's still kind of up in the air, which, you know, circles us back around our whole supply chain question again.
Yep, and you've got this event, I think November 3rd, this thing, the election, and that might
Oh, I
influence.
heard about that.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, it was in all the papers.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's going to influence the general mood of the country. I'm not sure how or in what way,
Yep.
but certainly that's going to have an impact. So a lot of variables coming into this fourth quarter, and a lot of variables this week. This virtual market thing is a fascinating concept. I know a few other industries have tried this, and um, uh, it's interesting that this technology exists now that wasn't there before.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's a new experience for all of us, right?
Yep.
And we've only got a couple of minutes left. Um, so I just want to remind everybody. Well, first, thank you, Warren,
Glad to join you as always.
for sharing your perspective. Um, and I just want to remind everybody that we will have programming every day. Our next one begins at 10:30, and that is going to be Nikki Gundel giving us an outlook on design trends, very important. We've got live showroom Zooms, and we have a full agenda on our website, including our Trailblazers and Titans award ceremony Tuesday evening with a virtual cocktail party, BYOB, and party hats. Warren, you're joining us, right?
I've ordered mine already. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, very good. I want to thank again IHA, the Inspired Home Show, for sponsoring this session. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you at some of our other programs. Have fun, and bye, Warren. I'll talk to you later.
It's a deal. Make the world safe for sheets and towels. Take care.
Yay!
Be safe.
Okay, you too.